Can you guys see it now?
It's still loading, bro.
Stunning.
It's still loading.
I mean, I guess we can start even without the screen share for now. I just want to, I guess, give some sort of an overview, if that's fine with everyone.
For sure.
All right. Yeah, Alex, you in the meanwhile can battle the screen sharing thing. So yeah, guys. So basically, yeah, it has been quite some time since I was visiting the spaces. So there has been a lot going on, and mostly only the good things. So basically, I want to give you more or less of an overview for the path to TGE, and basically what's next. So I guess like there is something there is a lot I can talk about the infrastructure side of things, because obviously Galactica is a layer 1, so there is a lot of infrastructure that it has to come into place. And so I can talk about that first. I can talk about AI, or I can talk about the RWA side of things. So basically, with AI, the two things I'm going to be talking about mostly is the agentic side of things and human-bound agents. And why it's so cool about RWAs, I'm going to be talking about our friends from Hilbert and basically how we can do, and we will do a lot of cool things together. And about the infrastructure side of things, I'm just going to be talking a lot of boring stuff about what kind of things will be deployed prior to TGE. Basically on the infrastructure side of things for Galactica to be interoperable and like vivid ecosystem. So what do you guys want me to start with? Up to you.
Are you asking us, Misha, or the community?
I don't know. So I guess yeah. I don't know. Let me. Yeah, probably it's better if I let me think. Yeah, I guess RWAs. Let me start with RWAs. That's going to be the coolest. So basically Hilbert. So I think in order to understand RWA, there are two important things to take into consideration. So first of them is basically the environment in which we currently are, like on a macro in macro terms, and who is Hilbert. So these are the two very important things. So basically, I'll start with the environment. So as we all know, Trump won the office, and so we have now a very crypto-friendly president and the administration, obviously. And so the crypto tsar, the David Sachs guy. So I know him from back. Well, I don't know him personally, obviously, but I was listening to him for the last 2 years, more or less. So as you might know, he is one of the guys on the All In podcast. And so basically, there has been a lot that has been discussed about the tokenization of legit securities and basically how to make the Web3 space to be populated not only with quasi-useful utility tokens, but also with something like private equity and pretty much other things. So basically, how can we democratize access to private equity and to funding opportunities that, OpenAI is Anthropics of this world, which are normally only accessible to VCs and some other funds. All right, so how can we give access to those instruments to the wider community, and in this way enable like much broader spectrum of people to be able to capitalize on the on all of these wonderful technologies, opportunities, etc. So basically, the guys were thinking about this for a very long time, and I think that we all know that Bitcoin Reserve has been announced yesterday. It was a little bit underwhelming, but I think it was priced in. But the most important thing, I guess, is definitely their stance on integrating the Web3 and TradFi, right? And so basically, that's something that we have been talking about for quite some time. And so I'm sure that most of you guys have been able to go through some of the documents, some of the research that we have done. And so basically, we have been speaking about this for a very long time. And basically, as well, all of you, I think, know, Galactica initially was designed with that purpose in mind, right? So how can we make a infrastructure that would benefit from all the permissionless aspects of and interoperable and programmable instant settlement aspects of the Web3 infrastructure, but at the same time be able to be populated with classic liquidity, TradFi liquidity, right? So how can we trade Tesla on Uniswap, in other words? So that's the definition of RWA in my mind. So the moment you can trade Tesla on Uniswap or anything else like Uniswap, that's RWA dream come true, right? And so basically we have this first very important aspect, the administration. So legislation will be put forth. How you can treat securities on chain, what kind of compliance rules you will need to have there, etc. And the cool thing is that, I mean, we have one of the most elaborate frameworks for how you can edit and design the compliance rules in order to accommodate, such primitives, right? So stocks and whatnot on chain. And so we're gonna be there on a very much on the cutting edge of this movement. So the second very important thing about the environment is that, as you see, there are very large players right now that, so this RWA meta, it's not really like on the headlines or whatever, but all the projects that are dealing with RWA are feeling themselves very nice, right? So basically you have Ondu, obviously, you have Mantra. So those guys are feeling very well. And so all of them are pretty much doing something like what we do. Ondu has announced their chain recently. So there is this confirmation that a standalone chain is very important, and you really need it in order to kind of, be able to be a little bit more flexible with what sort of liquidity comes into the into your ecosystem. And basically, Mantra is the same thing, pretty much. So, and both of these projects are doing very well, and they will be doing only better as time goes by. So that's, I guess, the first very important thing. So we have the infrastructure at Galactica, which is at par or better. And, the important thing right now is just to push pedal to the metal, right? Because we all know that, the first thing I said, right, that administration will push for RWAs, and that's, it's going to be a big, big, big meta. So that's the first very important thing. So now, who is Hilbert? So Hilbert is pretty much, more or less plus minus around $1 billion fund. So it's big. They are trading in both crypto and traditional finance. So they are managing a huge Bitcoin portfolio for Xapo, for example. So I don't know, guys, if you know what Xapo is. Pretty much for all the OGs here, you definitely know, but maybe for those who joined the space a little bit later, it's a little bit less of a family name. But basically, Xapo is the biggest, the coolest Bitcoin, the earliest, the first institutional Bitcoin custody service that afterwards got sold to Coinbase and currently exists as a private bank for Bitcoin whales. So it's basically just guys who were stacking those sats since 2011. So it's a huge thing. And so managing a big Bitcoin portfolio for them is definitely quite something. I mean, they're doing a lot of other cool things. It's just something I wanted to highlight. So I know them for quite some
Bitcoin portfolio, Misha. Can we share that? Because it's not a tiny portfolio, let's say.
Yeah. As I said, it's plus minus around $1 billion, right? So that's more or less the in the area, right? So it's big, and then obviously it fluctuates depending on the prices, but yeah, it's around that. So it's like 9-10 figures. So yeah, or you meant Xapo in particular?
No, I meant exactly what you just mentioned. Xapo is the OGs from 2014, right? Is when they opened the doors. So I would assume they're even.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 2011, right? So that's when they started, but 2014, I think, is when they opened Xapo. But whatever. Yeah, it's a great guys. So some of the old Bitcoin maxis. So yeah. So I know Hilbert from back in the days. So basically, I don't know. I don't think that I said it, but Coin360, I was involved with Coin360 back in the days, very much involved, and basically Hilbert bought it from us in 2019, I guess, or 2020, something like this. And so basically that's how I know them. So there was like this exit from Coin360. And so that's how I know them. So I know them for quite some time. We've done a lot of good business together. And so basically, the idea is that they will be
a notable mention as well. That page is still getting, Misha, was it 2 to 2.5 million unique visitors every 4 weeks? So they have connection with Xapo, they're building the fund, they're doing this together with us, and they have that amount of inbound traffic every month. So it's quite a unique actor having that much exposure for both the supply and distribution. So it's
definitely. Definitely,
These
yeah.
are
So Coin360 is a great asset, yeah. So that's for sure. Yeah, it's I think it's the biggest tree map provider still, and yeah, it's quite good. I remember they were. I remember I was in Amsterdam Stock Exchange, and they had like a huge screen with with Coin360 on it. So it's in a lot of trading rooms. Yeah, well, so that's the thing with Hilbert. And so yeah, now the pressing question: what do we actually do together, right? So and what we do is well, Hilbert is deploying a DEX, which we decided to call A360, right? So that nobody gets confused here. So basically, Hilbert is the holdco, right? Is the holding company, and Hilbert owns both Coin360 and A360, right? So now A360 is a DEX. It's built on top of Balancer infrastructure. So Balancer is one of the most beautiful primitives in DeFi. So the idea there is that well, it's pretty much like Uniswap, but much more programmable, right? So you can have multi-asset pools. So you're not limited to two assets within a pool. You can have much more. So basically, you kind of have those indices if you think about this. Obviously, you can also have just a simple pool, so it kind of collapses back into Uniswap setup, but it can be much more general purpose than that. By the way, for anyone who has some mathematical background, I really recommend going and checking out the math behind Balancer. It's it's quite something. I think it's still considered to be by far the most sophisticated DeFi thing, and yeah, it's quite cool. So there is this another addition which has to do with index arbitrage, but I think we will get deeper into this when I get the A360 guys here, maybe the technical team behind it. But basically, yeah, the idea is that in TradFi you have this index arbitrage funds. So basically what they do is that if you have, for example, an ETF that consists of 500 stocks, and then you have those individual stocks being traded on some exchange spot, then there are always these micro deviations between the fair price of all those stocks in an ETF and the price of underlying securities, right? And so you have high frequency trading firms that are arbitraging that difference and basically capitalize on that. And so, and all this index arbitrage. So maybe some of you guys from Europe, you know, flow traders, for example. So flow traders, their major strategy is index arbitrage. And all of these HFT firms obviously are doing very well and earning a lot of money, like a lot. And basically the idea with A360 is that this arbitrage is performed internally, and the results of this arbitrage are redistributed back into the pools. So basically, we kind of take all that surplus capital and distribute it back to the people who are participating in the pools, instead of pocketing it like the ETFs. Oh, sorry, like the index arbitrage firms do. So that's the idea there. It's kind of cool, but I guess the more important idea is that the liquidity that we target to populate this DEX are private equities and with time regular equities. So in other words, we start with OpenAI, SpaceX, Anthropic, whatever, Stripe, all those cool things, right? All the family names. And we give access to fractionalized ownership of those stocks, right? Which is super cool because obviously you cannot get it today. So it's not really possible for anyone, well, without some strong institutional setup to have it. And definitely not on such sizes. So buying $10 worth of OpenAI 24/7, by the way, available, that's a big thing. It's a big step. So basically that's the idea of A360. Today we will have some demos, by the way. So that I'm not sure how much of an alpha it is, but yeah, today we will be publishing some cool demos. Because the infrastructure is live. And so yeah,
Sorry for interrupting, Misha. We wanted to share the demo here, but Toma is sending me messages on the back end. They're having some trouble getting the video up. It will be published later today so that all of you can actually see a live working demo. We might not be able to get it up showing here. We will see if Toma has some technical wizardry that he can pull out. Otherwise, it will be published later today, so you can actually see a working live demo of exactly what Misha is mentioning. Sorry, Misha, for interrupting. Mike, back over to you.
Yep. So and that's a great thing, because as you guys understand, deploying a DEX, okay, wonderful, people can trade now, okay, cool. But the actual strong thing about DeFi, right, is the composability. And so basically, okay, now if there is a DEX, there is a price discovery. If there is a price discovery, then you can have, for example, a credit market, right? So you can, for example, buy some OpenAI, you can collateralize a USDC loan with this OpenAI, and then you can go, well, do something else with this USDC. You can re-leverage the OpenAI position. You can go buy yourself a house. I don't know. So basically, it's basically the regular thing, how, for example, Aave and Balancer and Uniswap are interacting on Ethereum ecosystem. Same idea here, right? But just very different liquidity. Instead of shitcoins, you have, family name, private equities, and whatnot. So that's the idea with A360. So it took us quite some time to kind of like arrange this whole deal and everything. So that's why there haven't been so many updates. But I guess as I want you guys to know that we are working 24/7 pretty much to make some cool things happen. It's a difficult thing to do. Nobody has managed to do it so far. And the actual problem there is not the technology, it's the legal aspect. And it seems to us that we have, I cannot disclose who it is, but we have some of the stronger big names in compliance and Web3 and whatever on board with this. And so basically it's not just an idea that we came up in a pub, with a couple of friends, but it's more of a deep research that we did, and it seems like it's gonna work. Hit the wood. So so that's the idea with RWAs. So that's the idea. That's what A360 does. That's how it relates to Galactica. So basically now there is a very important thing here about the timing of the TGE. So for me, it's very important to make sure that when we launch, it's not just, like an empty whatever chain, and like you can stake and whatever. It's very important that we launch alongside, right? So that there is this huge utility that comes with this deployment, all right? And that's very essential. And that's why the current TGE is planned for the end of March. But it can be moved still if it's what it takes in order to make those things live at the same time, right? So as the guys will show today, like the DEX is live, but there is still a lot of little details that need to be polished. So anyway, if there is a movement in the TGE date, you guys should rest assured that there is a very, very good reason for that. So wonderful. By the way, the design is pretty much a mock. It's gonna look much sexier by the time we launch. Just for those.
This is still really freaking cool. I think Misha, I don't know if you can see it, but the chat is this is quite damn cool stuff. Toma, I love that you've gotten the demo up, but maybe we can switch back to, sorry for doing this to you, maybe we can switch back to the presentation and the tech roadmap, because I think that's going to be the next section. But Misha, if you can see, jump into the comments, because it's cool stuff. So what Misha just mentioned, right? You're literally looking at the ability to swap from a crypto asset into something like what we just saw, the S&P or Tesla or Apple or anything like that. And it's actually creating a new price discovery. So you could be doing this on, for example, Saturday and Sunday, and create a new price discovery for the open market on Monday. Or Misha, have I understood that right? Or
so it will go live together with the TGE. That's the most important idea. So that's the key takeaway here. By the way, a question here about Telegram and Cypherbook there. So guys, I wanted to address this real fast. So basically we have it like maybe 50% finished, but we stopped working on it quite some time ago because I don't know if you have been following the news of the Telegram ecosystem. They basically shot themselves in both feet with a shotgun, and they basically said that, okay, unless you're interacting with Ton, then no other sorts of connectivity must exist within Telegram mini apps and whatever. That was one very adverse development. And the second very adverse development was that basically the entire Telegram ecosystem pretty much has died in a sense, because everybody realized that all these tapping apps and all this other thing, basically the traffic that it generates, it's a lot of numbers, but it's either bots or it's basically people who, well, for whom it's well, it makes financial sense to be pressing that button pretty much 24/7, and that would mean that presumably for most of them, well, kind of like the conversion in a sense into some more serious applications is a little bit problematic. And for this reason, basically this traffic doesn't convert. So that's the biggest takeaway there. And so the Telegram ecosystem is pretty much dead at this point. I'm sure they will bounce back, but in order for us to continue doing that, I really need assurances from their side that, you know, if we make a cipher book inside Telegram, it's not just like Ton, right? And yeah, well, it's. But the good news is that basically it's gonna happen post TGE, so not before. You should expect it. The idea is that the same code base that we've built for Telegram pretty much works for mobile apps, and so Galactica will go mobile, that's for sure. And yeah, it's and yeah, that's the good thing. But yeah, from our perspective, having this DEX ready, having this utility to flow into the ecosystem has been much more instrumental than well, creating a Telegram app for well, that yeah, can be banned at any time, and well, potentially targets not really that traffic that we want to target, right? So that was the idea. So, sorry. That's about the Telegram. Just wanted to address that. But yeah, so again, 50% down. The user experience there is just absolutely epic. I think Alex or Toma will be publishing, because again, the thing which is not ready is just the front, kind of the design, but the key infrastructure is ready, and I think we can share with you a couple of nice demos. So, but again, we will reallocate resources to this post TG. That's the important thing. Right. Okay. So that's the on the side of the Telegram. Now, in terms of going to market and in terms of the infrastructure, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. So there is a bridge, right? So there is that. We will probably be going live with Axelar. That's at least the thinking. So we have been working on forking the Gravity bridge for quite some time, but basically, yeah, the problem with the Gravity bridge is that the open source version of it is a little bit outdated, and basically it's very difficult to make it work seamlessly, and so we wasted quite some time there. Unfortunately, there was no way to know upfront. You had to go all the way in order to understand it, and so basically right now it's probably Axelar. So it's much simpler, much better code base, so that's why it should be easy to do. So Axelar will be one very important thing, so the bridge, right, in order for Galactica to be kind of bridgeable with all the other ecosystems. So which other ecosystems is something I cannot yet tell you, but you guys should be excited about this. The other very important things are staking portal, optimizations on the node, so that basically you don't need to deploy a full node every time you want to deploy a validator, because that's obviously very expensive. So, well, staking, as I said, bug fixes across Cypherbook and things like that. So that will be, in terms of infrastructure, that's the most important things, and making sure, obviously, that the DEX works. Fine. That's the focus of the infrastructure side of things. Now, yeah, so on the infrastructure, I guess that's all. So I know you guys have been quite pissed about the Cypherbook, and for a good reason. So basically, the idea is that we kind of were collecting for quite some time all sorts of feedback, and so by the TG, it's gonna work. It's gonna work well. So we haven't been doing much work on it up until now, and so basically, the only thing that's important to know right now is that for the TG, it's gonna work like a Swiss clock. Again, it's Web3, so some minor hiccups are possible, but yeah, it's we took pretty much all the feedback into account, and yeah, well, the Cypherbook will be good by the launch. So
You have one more surprise, Misha. If you want, we can jump to the next slide and show the store.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's another thing. We'll be going live very soon. So basically, our ecosystem, right? So it's well, it's quite an ecosystem by now, so it deserves its own page. So basically, that's the App Store will be going live prior to TGE as well. I actually hope it's going to be live next week. Cannot promise that, but I think it's next week. So yeah, well, App Store is cool, right? So something that you guys should, by the way, be aware of is that this App Store. Currently, it's a list, but what we will do is that the App Store kind of ranking and everything adjusts based on the data you've uploaded into the Cypherbook, right? So basically, same idea like you have in the Apple App Store, where like more relevant apps for you are fed to you first. They're the same idea, but without Tim Cook having access to all your data, right? So that's kind of cool. Yeah, the App Store, indeed. All right. So another thing, by the way, about Hilbert, just real fast to wrap up. Sorry, I'm jumping a little bit left and right, but yeah, about Hilbert, a very important idea is that I will bring the founders of Hilbert onto the space. Maybe I think next week. The idea with them is that these are like some of the smartest guys. So basically, I think one of them is. A very, very professional poker player and also a PhD in physics, so quite a guy. And the second one also matches the first. So basically, I will bring both of them, and I will also bring, I think, Bernali, who is their CEO of the Hilbert Group, and she has some Goldman background, exotic options, I guess it was, if I remember correctly. So, but basically, one of the trading desks from Goldman. So I mean, she's also. Super powerful, and convincing. So that's the thing with Hilbert. I guess I covered that. I covered the infrastructure is kind of boring, guys. I really apologize, but basically it is what it is. So basically, just to reiterate, staking, bridging, Cypherbook improvements, basic stuff. So just something we need for the launch. All other cool improvements to follow the launch because they're not critical for the launch. So maybe I forgot something. Airdrop. All the minor things. Oh, by the way, a cool thing is that we will have to do the ZK ceremony, basically burning the keys. It's it's a ceremony which is required in order for all the ZK aspects of the network to be verifiably secure, and so you guys are invited onto the campfire. So in which we will burn again the keys. It's going to be quite cool. So going to happen maybe in a week from now. So basically like the week that follows the next one. So all right, cool. And so yeah, by the way, like this whole combination Swissborg, right, Galactica, Hilbert. I mean, it's kind of sexy. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, we have the AI side of things. Do you guys have... So should I address some questions before we go to AI?
Yes, I just got a document from Thomas, so I'm going to read some of the question loud here. Let's see if we can get this working. Okay, I will go from the top, Thomas. Is that how the document has been organized, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned from other Web3 projects TGE launches, and how are you applying them to Galactica? Interesting question. I think Misha has addressed it quite well. We want to make sure that there is incredibly unique and valuable utility. And that is what Misha has been sharing with the DEX, the ability to swap between crypto assets and TradeFi assets, the price discovery that comes with that. But maybe, Misha, if you want to clarify it again or add something else.
Yeah, so basically just got a question, why not using BorgPad for TGE? So I don't think we've said that we're not using BorgPad, right? So we might well do so. All right, so in terms of TGE, I mean, it's if you guys have like an hour or so, I can I can tell you everything about this, but maybe it would be nice if to be a little bit more specific. I mean, like there are many things. It's super essential. It's a very important day, like the TGE always. It's a lot of work, whatever. So most important thing is that you want to test. If you have some non-trivial, non-orthodox like mechanisms in the TGE path, it's very important to have it tested first. I guess that's the first important thing. So the timing should always be like DEX and then C-axis, right? So it's much better to do it this way. So very important is the role of the market maker in order to make sure that they like obviously it's the most volatile day for any project, right? So TGE is always where the biggest volume. Well, not the biggest in the I mean obviously there can be other days with big volume, but like on average it's a super volatile day. So very important is the role of the market maker. We will have some good market makers for that for Galactica. So obviously super essential to have very liquid DEX pool, because CX liquidity is very liquid, fluid, whatever, non-verifiable, or how can I say it best? Like there is always like some peace of mind that comes with a lot of locked liquidity on a DEX. So very important to to kind of rely on your own infrastructure. That's, I guess, very important lesson.
Misha, I have quite a lot of questions. I just realized. So if you want, I can shoot you.
It's a lot. So if you guys can be a little bit more specific, then I definitely would be happy to. But yeah, it's a lot of things there.
Could you reveal an exclusive game-changing piece of information about Galactica that has never been disclosed before? I think that we can safely say Misha has just dropped quite big alpha. So I'm going to jump that one. Hopefully you guys feel like Misha has over-delivered on this one.
We
and
haven't
then we
started
have...
on AI, by the way, so
Oh, yeah.
So there will be more now.
I'm not... Okay, so this one is... do you know the minimal number of transaction volume you need for you to be sustainable layer 1? I don't know if that's how sustainability is measured in terms of, I guess, okay, so I guess the question is, well, right, so maybe I can answer this. Misha, feel free to jump in, but right, like, it's all the volume, the transaction volume can easily be manipulated, right? You can literally just move money back and forth. So I don't know if it's the best measurement for success, but maybe the question is, how are we measuring success and sustainability on Galactica?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very easy, guys. It's super easy. I mean, there is like a million layer 1s and layer 2s, right? So how do you differentiate between them? Well, it's kind of easy. You differentiate between them based on the product offering. So if there is a truly unique value proposition, the liquidity will flow that way, right? So that's the only way really you can measure the success of a network. So you need to have unique value proposition. You need to be super focused on it. And then basically, if you do have these two things, then whatever metrics you want to measure would characterize the successful layer 1 or layer 2, you know. So that's the important thing, I guess. Yeah. So everything else can be manipulated. Everything else is not really like, well, you can give ballparks, but like it's not really important. The important thing is the unique value proposition, and then well, people will come to you.
So true. Next question is, what future, if any, development will be done between Galactica and Badcoin?
Yeah. So I mean, should we leave this one for the end, because that's basically everything I want to talk about AI, or I can talk now about it the way you like.
Let's leave it to the end, and then I will touch upon all of the other. Next question is, TGE is scheduled for Q1 2025. If not, when? Misha has answered that one as well, right? So yes, TGE is planned for end of March. That's still the plan, but we want to do TGE with utility at launch. So that's why we've been speaking about the DEX, the TradeFi asset swapping, and all of that. we want that to be ready and be able to go live at TGE, because at TGE you want to have utility to attract people and volume. So as soon as we have those capabilities ready, we're still aiming for the end of March. Could be that it moves slightly. Keep an eye on our socials, but now you know if it moves, why it moves. When will you guys transfer our nodes to Cypherbook? I'm not. So I think, of course, your earnings, right? Like when you have a full node and when you have a shard node, you essentially get node rewards and then you get boosted earnings, right? If you have a full node, you get more boosted earnings. If you have a shard node, you get a smaller boost. And this, I think, is just going to be reflected in the dashboard. Or Misha, do you have any info on this? Are we going to visualize,
Yeah.
show links in another way?
Yeah, so let me please speak about this on the next AMA. We are thinking about this right now very actively because I'm going to give you a hint, but like, again, it's just a hint for now. So the idea is that, as you guys know, nodes is a perfect dynamic incentive mechanism, right? So in other words, it's the thing which kind of enables the inflation to dynamically move towards the use cases that benefit the ecosystem the most. So obviously for us, the very important thing in the beginning is the A360, right, the DEX, so that we have like a lot of liquidity activity there and whatnot, because that will determine in the end like the short-term success of Galactica, right? And so basically the idea is that there will be interactions between the node mechanism that we have and the an A360. I cannot tell you more. I can just tell you that it's going to be a very well thought out mechanism. And I would like to speak about this a little bit later when I have a little bit more clarity, so that I don't say something I need to backtrack later on.
Beautiful. Thank you for your insight thus far, though, Misha. Hello, Mr. Cyvordaya. I am an early investor in Galactica. The privacy-based KYC take is amazing. The only concern I have is security. How will you ensure that no user data gets leaked, considering that even big companies have had data leaks? I guess this is a very directed question to you, Cyvordaya.
It's a very simple one as well. We don't have any data, so there is nothing to leak, right? It's very important. So basically, like there is no particular server or storage or cloud or whatever where any of the data is stored, right? So this data is stored exclusively with the KYC providers. So Swissborg in our case right now, there will be more as well. So the idea is that, obviously, God forbid, but if Swissborg somehow gets some kind of a security accident, and I'm sure they won't, then obviously some data could be exposed, but at the same time, it will not give to the person who will have access to that data, unauthorized access to that data, or authorized, it doesn't really matter. It will not give any information about on-chain activity of users, right? That's very important. So the way it works, you guys can check in the ZK KYC paper. If you are technically minded, you can also go into the GitHub and check it for yourself as to how it works. But overall, yeah, that's the very important idea, that Galactica does not store any. The only way the data is stored is locally on your machine, right? And also, it is stored in an encrypted way on chain. But basically, it's just a hash, right? So, and this hash does not really, it gives zero info to any outside observer. The GitHub link is it's just on the landing page, so you can just. I'm seeing just a question here from Slyborg. So the GitHub link is in the developer documents, so you can check that on the landing page.
Beautiful. Maybe one of the community members can share it with Slyborg. I also just want to highlight that I think we've broken an audience record. I think this is the first time we're actually at 100 audience members. I will not take credit for this, Misha. I think people have come to hear and see you. But amazing to see that so many of you have turned up. Thank you guys so much for your time. It's very precious to us.
We got at least twice more people on Telegram as well.
What will be the price of GNet at TGE? We cannot say that now. We will, Misha, will we loop in Louis and token economics maybe next week?
Yeah, so that's the same. It's gonna be the same time that we're gonna be talking about nodes. So I would like to move it a little bit further, but yeah, yeah.
How many validators will be in the mainnet? Will there be delegation programs from the project in the mainnet? If yes, what for? Are they any ready-made applications on our blockchain? Don't know if I got the second part of the question, but how many validators will there be at mainnet, and will there be delegation programs?
Yeah. So, guys, I will just say it real fast. I just need to open the door. I'm sorry, I got some delivery. So basically, but the idea is simple. We have already 100 validators, right, active on the testnet. So I assume it will be this number will be bigger on the mainnet. And the other thing is that in terms of staking and delegating, yes, that's in the plan, of course. Now, please give me just 30 seconds. But Alex, you can go.
Thank you. So just as you saw with the tech roadmap, we're going to have staking before TGE. Staking means the ability to delegate right to a validator that you like, that you believe in, earning rewards. So yes, staking should be available when we go for TGE. And then you can delegate your stake to a validator. Beautiful. Okay, next question is, are you able to provide information on how the Galactica product will globally impact usability for the average person while walking through a city? Might I encounter your product? Ooh, interesting question. Okay, so I think the question is sort of like, in everyday life, how could I get exposed to Galactica walking through a city? It's a very interesting question. Kudos to whoever wrote it. So I don't think we're going to have like a physical impact around cities all over the world tomorrow. But there's definitely a case to be made for, as the Galactica identity, right? The CKKYC, as that gains adoption, as more and more protocols start to using it, it essentially becomes right. And that's what we're trying to do with the App Store page, is show you all of the things that you have access to, the world of opportunity, as we call it, that the Galactica identity, the Galactica CKKYC gives you access to. In the far off future, it could be that you can walk into your local liquor store and use your CKKYC Galactica identity as a way to verify that you are above the legal age limit to buy liquor or something like that. But it's not something that we're currently super prioritizing right now. We have quite a lot of cool and beautiful stuff to build and fix on the journey to get to sort of people using the Galactica identity physically around cities at a global level. But I love that you see the long-term vision. Okay, and then we have, when will node sale of Occamfi take place? How many GNet will be allocated to the chakra basket? I don't have any information on that one. That one is a bit new to me. Misha, could you?
The node sale is closed already, right? So
should I read it again? Sorry.
Yeah. So also we'll get some news a little bit later. So prior to TGE, guys, you can expect it.
Super cool. Where do you see Galactica adoption rate going by the end of 2025? I guess we can all like, I can answer what I think, Misha and Thomas can answer what they think. So I think we're at an incredible sort of equilibrium, or like a very interesting time in crypto, where I think the next big cycle is definitely going to be RWA. Or around that, because that is going to enable crypto to get continuous cash flow into the industry and somewhat of a decorrelation to multiple different asset classes. So I think that if RWA really gains momentum this cycle, which I definitely think it will, I think it will be the major narrative of the summer. And what we have with Hilbert, A360, and some others that we haven't, we can't speak too much about. I'm very positive. I would say maybe conservative, like around 1 million or something like that. I think could be in the good target range. Could be a lot more. Could be a bit less, but something like that by the end of 2025, I think would be quite realistic and doable. Thomas, maybe over to you, and Misha gets to give the wisdom last, because I think he might be the most accurate. But Thomas, what is your...
Just because we have a lot of questions about it, I just wanted to
I
share the
can't hear
code.
you, Thomas,
So
for some reason.
people
Sorry.
say they are hearing me,
Yeah.
so I think it's only you, Alex.
Can't hear you at all.
I will.
Alex.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
I will mute
Then it's just
Alex.
me. I'm going to be quiet, Thomas. Please go ahead, and then I will be...
That was frustrating. I would just share very quickly the code with all of you guys. So the code of today is Sarvodaya. You just have to read our Sarvodaya name, and you just put there in the quest. I will also share it there. So it's Sarvodaya, and you will have 2 hours to...
Like the guys should check what it means. Well, they should check the the Wikipedia, for example.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, guys, look, because in the interest of time, right? So still 10 minutes we have for the AMA. Then I will unfortunately I will have to tune out. So basically on the AI side of things, So and bad AI obviously. So basically the idea there is this. So on the bad AI side of, by the way, bad AI, like the chain graph technology, it's pretty much a product of the R&D department from Galactica. So it's so we have lots of devs on Galactica side of things, and basically for many of them we give, or at least during the bear run, now not so much, but during the bear market we were giving quite some time for them to do their own things, because that's just very important for developers to kind of be able to diversify their attention to some passions other than the core product. And so the idea is that, like, the chain graph was, we have developer Alex, and he's a genius. And so basically the chain graph was just something that he has built as part of his like hobby, undertakings, whatever. So basically it's one of the most powerful frameworks for agentic design. The chain graph v2 is coming, by the way, as I'm sure you guys know. And it's state of the art. In Web3, there are no real things at such technical level, so it's very, very strong. So the idea is that, as we all know, there is this like a curve of AI progress in a sense, and so it starts with inference, just a regular LLM, right? Then it proceeds to reasoning. So reasoning is a very important thing. So all the reasoning models you guys, I'm sure, are using, that's the product of this reasoning. Second big step. So basically, for the model to be able to scrutinize itself in order to come up with a better answer. It's in layman terms. And the agents is pretty much the third big step. And so we're not there yet, right? So basically, all the agents you see in Web3 are mostly gimmicks. With a couple of notable exceptions. Obviously, the Peppenberg is one. So, and things like XBT is definitely very strong. So, but most of the agents is just bullshit. And so basically the idea is that vast majority of niche tasks that will be performed by AI, and these tasks will include pretty much most of the white collar work, right? Because AI is already much better than most of the people you can hire to do many tasks. So agents will be everywhere, ubiquitous, right? And the idea is that the more powerful the frameworks for designing those agents, well, obviously, the better the output. For majority of people, now that's the next very important step. So that's the first thesis I wanted to make. So agents are very important, TLDR. The second very important thing is that majority of work will be performed, right, by agents, and for many people the idea will be to, instead of doing the work themselves, which they will not be paid that much for anyway because agents are just cheaper and better, the actual work will be in creating the agents. So for the majority of people, creating AI agents will be the the target, basically their work, so that's the way you kind of make yourself relevant in the economic landscape. You have to create agents. Obviously, maybe some other types of work will emerge, but I'm pretty sure there is a huge amount of people for whom that's going to be the primary source of income. And so basically the very important thing is that the way you get rewarded for creating those agents, and that's how we loop back into our ideas back from 3 years ago about UBI, right? The very important thing is that the distribution of some wealth within economic systems, it will follow this type of a UBI process, whereby majority of value will be reallocated back to the people who design most useful agents. And so that's why it's very essential to be able to bind AI agents to humans. So in other words, if let's say I can create 1,000 agents, right, as one individual, and somebody else can create, let's say, I don't know, 10,000 agents, for example, then obviously the 10-to-1 ratio between the incomes we get will not be, will not give me sufficient means for subsistence. So that's why you have to have this quadratic thing. So basically everything we've been speaking about in the UBI section, the same thing applies. However, that you have to assume is the creation of AI. And so that's why this intersection between this human-bound agents and AI technological stack and RWAs, for example, it is very relevant, and it's basically, this is the intersection where from which the future of financial markets and labor markets will emerge, you know. And so that's why we're kind of in a very unique place where we have the strongest AI tech, at least in Web3. I mean, in Web2, you have the long chain, which is very similar. Also very strong, a little bit more general purpose, a little bit more abstract, a little bit less user-friendly, but at the same time, much more developed in terms of integrations because they have a huge open source community. So basically there is, you know, there are pros and cons in this comparison. But overall, it's comparable in quality to that. And in Web3, yeah, you have basically just some calculators. And so, yeah, the idea is that this intersection between having access to RWAs, having access to the private identity layer, and having access to AI is super strong. And so basically that's one very important thing. So identity layer to be used in aiding allocating economic resources to people who have built agents, right? That's one very important thing. For this, you do need identity primitives. The second very important thing is differentiation of agents. So the idea here is this. So if all the agents have access to the same data, then there is very little differentiation the agents can have. So for example, one of the very important things that will go out with Chain Graph v2 is that you will be able to have access to actual chain graphs, right? I mean, if the creator allows for it, right? So many creators, I think, will. So basically you have a chain graph, which makes, well, i.e. the agent, right? And then creator can give access to this chain graph to other people. So in this way, if I, let's say, just fork that chain graph, so do I have the same agent as you do? So kind of yes, it's exactly the same. And so the very important thing is to be able to give agents access to private pools of data. And so these private pools of data, they can be this identity data, right? So basically, in other words, the you know, your agent kind of adjusting based on whatever data you have, like it kind of becoming your proper PA, you know, knowing everything about you, but at the same time, obviously not sending that data to whoever, right, to Sam Altman or whatnot. So that's why it's very essential to have this private identity data, which can be fed into an agent, so that agent adjusts his or her, well, whatever, its behavior, I guess, based on the data you have. So that's the first very important thing. Second very important thing is pretty much any private data set. They don't have to do with your identity. They can have to do with just some data sets that only you have access to. A nice example would be IP, right? So if I have access to, or I own, let's say, Star Wars IP or whatever, if I'm Disney, for example, then it's very essential for my agents to be special in a sense and non-replicatable, simply because they can train on the data that only I have access to, which is private, right? And so that's basically this private training and private inference. These are very important things. And well, like obviously it has to do with private compute, and so FHE and zero knowledge and MPC, those things are very important primitives there. But there is another, the fourth one, which is TEEs. So basically trusted execution environments. If you might be familiar with that. So yeah, basically the idea is that it just can allow for much bigger data sets to be fed into the agents. And so we're working also with some partners I cannot yet disclose, but we'll probably know, you guys will probably know next week, in order to make that happen as well, right? So basically agents that can train on large data sets of private data. So that's another thing. And so yeah, so these are the three most important things, I guess. So we have one, the binding of agents to users in order to reallocate the economic resources, right, in the future labor markets or whatever. So we have the second very important thing, agents that adjust based on your private data, which you would not like anyone to have access to, obviously. So that's the second very important thing. And the third very important thing is the agents to be able to train on large private data sets to actually differentiate themselves from any other agent, right? Because otherwise anybody can have access to the same agent. So I mean, this. So yeah, these are the three very important things. That's how like Galactica and Bad AI interact. And I kinda will give, I think, like everybody who follows Bad, they will be able to have a couple of cool announcements. They see a couple of cool announcements today. Yeah, a couple of actually very cool announcements. But yeah, during the next week there will be much more to come. And yeah, and they will pretty much have to do with these partnerships that we are working on in the lab with Sir Peppenberg to kind of forge, right? And yeah, this is gonna be quite epic. So, but that's all I can say for now.
Amazing. Okay, community, let us know how we delivered on Alpha Fridays as usually, or have Misha now stepped it up one notch so that we need to continuously deliver. Yeah, amazing to see. Awesome. We haven't been able to run through all of the questions. We've already gone over a little bit of time. Misha, I know that you're very booked, so thank you so much for staying with us a bit extra. Maybe, Toma, what we do is for the questions that we haven't had time to answer yet, because there is quite a couple of them, we're going to maybe try to update the FAQ early next week so that everybody can see your questions and the answers from the team on that. While we have Sarvadaya here, Misha, thank you so much from all of us for joining us. I think everybody is very excited for these milestones up into TGE. And then keep an eye, because Misha is very right. Like, demo is being released today. There is potentially even more important stuff coming. There is a follow-up next week on some of the things that we didn't have the time to address in this one. So thank you so much for tuning in. Misha, Toma, do you have any final words before we close this one off?
Yeah, guys, I have a real fast one, I guess, a very important one at the same time. So really, guys, I so much appreciate everyone here, everybody in the community. You guys is the fuel that keep us going, right? So yeah, I mean, I have to apologize for not coming to this space a little bit more frequently. I'm gonna fix that. And yeah, guys, really thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Toma, any final words?
Alex, you cannot hear me, so I will just say it. Thanks everyone for coming. I hope you will have a very good weekend. It's time to touch grass, because next week is going to be a packed week also. We'll have a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, just excited with the perspective we have now.
I still can't hear Thomas, so I have no idea what he just said, but everybody looked happy.
That's always a good thing, bro.
Good stuff.
All right.
Good stuff. Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
We'll be back next week with our weekly Town Hall Friday Alpha AMA. Thank you all so much. Keep an eye on the socials. There's great stuff coming out. And the demo is going to be released so that you can actually look how this DEX looks a little bit if you want to check out how the swaps works. Thank you all so very much. Have a great Friday and great weekend. All the best.
Thank you, guys.
guys.